What a gorgeous eclipsed moon, bloody red, just as advertised. Hey, everybody, I'm Stargazer MarQ, and we're so glad you're with us to stay star curious today on Stay Curious, our American Space Museum video podcast for 2 years, over 560 episodes. Myself, Mark Marquette, and Marty Winkle's been my co-producer and partner in crime on this little excursion into space history and lunacy, because last night we had a gorgeous total eclipse of the moon. Hope you got to see it, but if it was cloudy where you were at, as it was over much of our country, we will have a beautiful gallery from some of my friends in our Facebook and Stay Curious friends showing us what they saw last night of the beautiful, extra long and extra deep and dark red lunar eclipse. It was truly a spectacular event that started, the full total eclipse started at about 10:30 and ended after 1 o'clock. Behind me here is astronomy Brevard Astronomical Society member Gil Plummer. Look at this beautiful picture that Gil took in his backyard. He liked to point out that one limb on that tree over there looks like a snake that's about to bite the moon, which was kind of a what ancient stargazers thought in prophecies and astrologers and trying to figure out the sky. The Chinese, I think, thought that a snake was actually trying to devour the moon there. There it is, seen in this beautiful ruddy red eclipse caused by the Earth's atmosphere. The light going through our atmosphere at the sunrise and sunset shifts everything to the red, and it reflects on our beautiful moon there with the edge, the whiter edge there is very where it's passing through a lighter area of our shadow cast into space. And at the very top, you see where that's the darker area towards the center of the cone that the Earth throws into space. And that's what it's all about, is the full moon passes into the shadow of the Earth. And why does it happen every month, every full moon? Because the moon goes above or below that shadow that is the shape of a cone. And so it misses it, just like we don't have an eclipse of the sun every month because the moon is either above or below. The new moon is above or below the sun in the sky. So, well, let's have some fun and look at things around the world, literally, from some of our eclipse viewers there. And this was my contribution to the eclipse out there at the Big A for Apollo at our Space View Park in downtown Titusville. I'm just 3 blocks from where I took this photograph. Kind of had it in mind. I wanted to get our Apollo program and the moon involved, and there you see clouds just moving away from it. And Marty, technically I don't have my screen is just showing me the green screen and nothing else. That's why y'all see my eyes looking up at the monitor we have on the wall up there, because the monitor in front of me is not showing the show, but that's okay. But that is the reddish moon there. There we go, Marty. Now I see it. Thank you. And our A there, quite spectacular, I think, with the reflections off of the Apollo monument there. And we're going to have some fun showing some people that did have kind of cloudy nights and not such a great view of the eclipse. In fact, around the world, while I'm looking at mine there, I thought we were going to be cloudy in Titusville about 10 o'clock. I jumped in the car to go south. I thought, well, around Port Canaveral, the weather map looks like it's going to be clear. Nope, it wasn't, though. That had been some good shots over there at Exploration Tower. And I thought I'd have to go to Melbourne, which is almost an hour away, or Palm Bay, that's even further. But I got to looking at the map again, and a big V of clearing was headed towards Titusville. So I went back to Titusville and captured my shot there. However, the moon was in clouds for a good half hour. And this was one of the longest eclipses we've ever had. Well, not ever, but it was 85 minutes in length, all right, and eclipsing 1989's 96 minutes. So it was the longest eclipse we've had in 33 years. It allowed me to go to different locations and take some pictures. Some didn't work out so well, some did. But here's pulled off of the my homepage, spaceweather.com, various pictures around the world. Mine's right there in the middle, by the way. We've got people in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Jason Brandt took that picture of the whole sequence there. We got Washington, Orlando, Florida, Nevada, Kentucky, Canada, and so forth and so on. And amateur backyard astronomers love taking their pictures like this one and making collages out of the whole phase and so forth. So go check that out, spaceweather.com, and see if your picture was posted, or if you took one, go ahead and post it up there. Easy to do, and they love seeing it. Well, here is our eclipse, another picture that I took. That's about my best one, 600 millimeter lens. There were a couple stars that the moon actually passed in front of. It was so dark. And Marty, it was so dark that trying to look at it in a telescope, you want to focus your image, and you're looking at the edge of the sun, the moon. It was so dark I had trouble focusing, even in a telescope, and as experienced as I am. And I'd like to know how many eclipses this is I've seen. Here's a buddy of mine, Jonathan Sabin. He was over in Braden area of Florida on the West Coast. He took this gorgeous picture of the moon, where it's some of the photographs you see through telescopes will flip it left to right and make south at the top. And I saw somebody commented on Jonathan Sabin's photo, what is that bright object in the lower left and the streaks coming out of it? Well, that's about a 62-mile diameter crater called Tycho. And those are the splash rays of the ejecta coming out of it, throwing across 1,000 miles across the surface of the moon there. The moon's 2,000 miles across, so nearly 1,000 miles, some of those rays. And we sent Apollo 16 in that bright area right in here. That's where Apollo 16 went to pick up some debris from Tycho's rays that impacted maybe 500 million years ago, kind of recent in geologic time. And here's a photograph from a buddy of mine, Lynn Griever, in Johnson City, Tennessee. Lynn, that is a shot that, that's hard to describe. It's right when the full moon, before it was eclipsed, but just look at all the little light going around there. The moonlight's piercing through behind it and so forth. That's really a cool shot. Lynn Griever took that in his backyard in Johnson City, Tennessee. You could use that for all kinds of words and stuff like that. That is very surreal looking photograph there. Clouds were an issue. Phil Harrington, who is a noted astronomy writer, he's written several books on binocular astronomies. Phil took this photograph to remind you that he was looking through some clouds in early eclipse. Of course, an eclipse has to happen when the moon is full. It's just opposite, and the Earth is between the sun and the moon. That's why our shadow's being cast into space. And we'll see a picture from Phil towards our end of our program. Real good. Phil Harrington has got 4 images that we're going to show off for him. And thanks for watching, Phil. We hope to get you on Stay Curious someday. Who took this one? This is Ronnie Sherrill, my buddy Ronnie in South Carolina. Stargazing buddy. Hey, Roomy. That's a photograph he took with about a 300 millimeter lens, but you get the idea. It was a ruddy, red, dark eclipse. And again, the dark part of the moon is in the closer to the center of the umbra, or shadow of the Earth, while the light area is out the outskirts. Here's another cloudy effort by David Kortner, another amateur astronomy friend of mine outside of Asheville, South Carolina. He has got, look at that, clouds around it right before totality, kind of make a surreal picture all of its own as the moon is slipping into the final bits of it, are slipping into the Earth's shadow. And Paul Lewis up on the top of the physics building at the University of Tennessee. This physics building is on the north end of the football stadium, Neyland Stadium. He had the telescopes covered up because it was cloudy, but he got a shot there you can see with kind of just a 50 millimeter lens. And Paul's always, he's always putting a picture of the belt of Venus, which is the pinkish little layer after sunset, opposite the sun where it sets in the west and the east. The Earth's shadow's rising, and you'll see that dark shadow, and above it is the pink of the goddess Venus's belt, they call that. A lot of you are frustrated. Hello, I got tired of waiting for the pink moon, so I had a drink and put a slice of bologna in my window. Not much difference, okay? And Dave Stange sent me a meme that I forgot to copy. I couldn't find it again wherever I saw Dave send me that showed a picture of the eclipse, what everyone in the country's seeing, and below it was clouds, what everybody in pure Michigan gets to see. Clouds, and Pure Michigan is their slogan up there on license plates. So sorry you didn't get to see it, but it looked a little bit better than a piece of bologna on the window. Here's a gorgeous shot that Ben Cooper, noted launch photographer, took. Thank you, Ben, for posting this on Facebook. That's why I shared it. Here's the beginning of the eclipse, is the Earth's shadow. The moon is moving from right into the shadow, all right? So it's plowing through it to the left at a speed of 2,000 miles an hour. So the moon moves its own diameter, half a degree every hour. So it moved almost 1.5 diameters through the eclipse cone of our Earth's shadow during the entire eclipse night. And there's a great dramatic 5 shots showing you how dramatic the eclipse was, as the Earth's shadow actually ate up the moon. That's what ancient people thought thousands of years ago, was something's devouring, something's changing the moon. Actually, Christopher Columbus may have saved his life on his 3rd or 4th trip to the Dominican Republic, when they were going to kill his men because the men were being very unruly. That's a fact. And so he said, I'm going to make the moon disappear if you don't go get us food and water. And so he knew an eclipse was going to happen, and he did, and they were cowering at Columbus's feet as he made the moon disappear, begging them to bring it back. All kinds of urban legends and mythology and great stories like that around the moon, but none better than you just watching it yourself and enjoying it. Like this beautiful shot from that's Carlton Bailey. Hey, Carlton. This was a cool shot he took in his backyard. You can see it's just like the naked eye looking up there, and he probably popped a little flash on that tree to fill that flash in on the tree, or maybe he's got a street light back there in his backyard that's showing that up. So good shot there, Carlton. Yeah, a lot of creativity shown during the night of our eclipse, and that's what I'm showcasing, including many amateur astronomers around the country were huddled down in the computer, their telescope doing all the work. This is my friend. Which friend is it? Oh, yes, George Fleener. Hey, George. He's in Bradenton, Florida, on the west coast, above St. Augustine, and not St. Augustine, above St. Petersburg. And this is a very high-tech setup that he has there, where he's got his camera on his telescope automatically taking pictures, downloading them. He's looking at one of the pictures there on a monitor, while the other monitor is showing the track of the moon across the night sky. So George didn't even post any pictures. They were like 32, I don't know, they're huge files, and he's going to post some super duper pictures of that, and I'll share maybe one of those with us tomorrow. But from high tech to very low tech, where Cynthia Rossi, hi Cynthia, she's a regular Stay Curious watcher. She took this with her cell phone. So we got from somebody bunkered down like NASA launch control watching the shuttle, like they're watching the shuttle, instead they're watching an eclipse of the moon, to Cynthia Rossi with her cell phone. Did just fine, Cynthia. Look at them beautiful clouds and the red of the bloody red moon under eclipse. Cynthia Rossi, good job. There's Gil Plummer's photograph from his backyard. That was 12:26 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Of course, it'll be May 16th. And just a gorgeous photograph. In fact, that one branch, like I said, looks like a snake that's after the moon. And then another amateur astronomy buddy, Mark Poole, took this picture. And the stars you see there don't show up so well here in this image, but they're the stars of Scorpio, the Scorpion. And so the moon was right above Scorpio, the Scorpion, technically in Ophiuchus, a constellation that's not recognized as part of the zodiac, though it is between Scorpius and Sagittarius in there. So, let's see. Next up is, oh, yes, our buddy Mark Yusiak. He was sweating the clouds in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I like this photograph because it's kind of overexposed, and the city urban lights have made it almost like a daylight image with the beautiful ruddy moon there, photographed by Mark Yusiak. And Mark's got another photo I'll show you here in a minute. There's my close-up of the moon globe over at Spaceview Park on our Apollo monument. Looking pretty good. And there's Mark Yusiak, did a church steeple with the cross over it. And he's got a little razzmatazz on that, maybe a lens filter there to give a little spike to that earth shine on the moon there. Mark Yusiak, good for you, buddy. Tori Varquette. Tori's a great friend of our museum, sells some of our trinkets over at the launches, and she has got Cosmic Yaya is her Facebook page where she sells 3D printed items. Good job, Tori. That's a nice telephoto lens there showing the beautiful moon in eclipse just a few minutes before it turned from the pinkish to this blood red. And I'm telling you, it was a red and dark eclipse. Probably the darkest I've seen, and I've probably seen over 20 in my lifetime. I go to think about, there's usually 2 lunar eclipses and 2 solar eclipses a year. So if I've been an amateur astronomer over 50 years, that's 100 eclipses in my lifetime. Let's say 50 of them were visible from the United States, and the more probably were. And another 10, 15 were cloudy. So I've seen 25, 35 total eclipses in my life, and a lot of partials. So hard to figure that out at my age, how many I've seen, because I didn't keep good records of it. I'm just there to enjoy it. Jeff Merrick, another amateur astronomy buddy in Johnson City, Tennessee. That is an awesome shot right there, taken through a pretty big telescope. Over on the right-hand side, you see that crater Tycho with the rays coming out of it. And there's no shadows on the moon because we're looking at high noon on it. So there's no shadows at full phase. It looks very weird and very eerie. But there's a lot of features that amateur astronomers can name. Like the brightest area there at the bottom, Marty, of this Jeff Merrick photo. Their little bright spot there is called Schroeder's Valley. All right, and that was going to be one of just right that right there is Schroeder's Valley. Okay, Aristarchus is the bright crater, and that definitely was going to be an Apollo 19 or 20 landing site until they canceled that program there. So it's cool to see some of the features during an eclipse. And a couple more here. Johnny Horn from Stedman, South Carolina. Johnny's photographing the full moon phase there, as dark and red as it was, from the Carolinas there. And Phil Harrington, I was telling you, he's known as the binocular guy. He promotes looking at things through binoculars, and you can see a lot of faint fuzzy galaxies, nebula, star clusters, and of course the moon. In binoculars, you can see Jupiter's moons, but you can't see Saturn's rings. But this is a nice little 4-panel shot that Phil Harrington took to show off last night's lunar eclipse of the moon, everybody. There it was over Spaceview Park, just a couple blocks away from Marty and I here. We're glad. Thank you all for letting me share your photos there. Like I said, you can still show some of your photos off on Space Weather on there. Let's see who was watching us today. Ashley Kendrick. Hey there, Grandma. She's the grandma of our granddaughter McKinley that I had on here a week ago. Imagine that. I had my little 6-month-old McKinley Marquette on here. And my daughter Jessica and the Ryan Kendrick was here, the daddy of beautiful McKinley. So glad you're watching, Ashley. I didn't hope you got to see the eclipse last night. Robert Law, not sure if you saw it or not in Dundee, Scotland. It was a little iffy over there in Europe. Larry Pushker was watching, Dave Stange, and of course the Yusiak brothers, Tom and Mark, who 49 years ago were just packing up their gear after photographing the last Saturn V launch that put Skylab into space. That was on Saturday. That had been celebrated Saturday, May 14th, 1973, is when Mark and Tom Yusiak were photographing the last Saturn V launch ever, and we posted their pictures of that on Facebook. Thank you all for watching. Yes.
It was too cloudy in Scotland.
Too cloudy in Scotland, said Robert Law. Well, sorry about that. That was a middle of the night event for them. And when's the next time you're going to get to see the full moon covered up in the Earth shadow like this? Well, it's going to be November 8th, but it's going to be a 3 a.m. event, all right? Totality will be before sunrise, but the eclipse will be ending when sunrise is November 8th. And the next the next opportunity for an evening one is about 4 years away. So we don't see these eclipses very often. The last one we had was 2019, 3 years ago. So you never know. Particularly at my age, I may have seen my last total lunar eclipse because they could all be cloudy from here on out. So, hopefully I'll have another 20 years left in the tank here, but one never knows, and that's why we take advantage and seize the moment, right, Marty? Well, thanks for all you're doing here, Marty, to help us stay curious, and we're glad that you're with us to kick off another week with the American Space Museum, the nonprofit that for 21 years has been celebrating and preserving the birth of the American space age, where it all began, Brevard County, Florida, which we affectionately call the delivery room of America's great space age. And the evidence of that is the International Space Station flying over last night. That was all that we didn't have, Marty. We didn't have many satellites, or I was looking for an airplane to photobomb me. And it happened a little bit late at night for the International Space Station to be seen, because you're only going to see it around an hour on either side of sunrise, because it's got to catch the twilight light. So hope you can do that someday. Hope you can come back to stay curious and enjoy us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Spotify. And we hope to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.